Kodash, 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 Adonai, Elohim, Sabaoth, meaning holy, 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 Lord of hosts. Yah, He, Vah, He. Those four syllables break down the tetragrammaton, sacred name, sacred Hashem. The first Yah signifies the divine masculine, the Father who art in heaven, Abba, the architect of the universe. So this is what deals with the Sephiroth. So from above comes the downflow through Kether, which is the crown, Hey, which signifies a divine feminine, which is Mother Nature, the earth. This is where you become in tune with nature, the mother, the womb of the earth, where mankind was created, molded, and forming. So when you're in touch with nature, say you're grounding and your feet are touching the soil and not through rubber, because it's the same kind of concept with electrical setup. Normally copper wires, they have rubber around them so the electrical charge doesn't come out and hit the skin directly. So when you ground your feet in the earth in the divine feminine energy, it pours up. So our bodies are kind of like the flow of the earth with the North Pole and the South Pole. It's a rotation. It's a downflow and an upflow, which creates a current, an energy field, which is ether moving through your body. So the first Yah signifies the divine masculine, the Father who art in heaven, the downpour through Kether, which we would know as the crown chakra, but on the Hebrew Sephiroth it's Kether. Hey, which is the divine feminine, the womb of the earth where mankind was created, molded, and formed. Va signifies their creation, which is us. That's why in the beginning, Elohim said, let us create them in our image. Keywords in that passage is us and our, because Elohim is plural. It's more than one with an S. Because everything within the Bible deals with duality. You can't have one without the other. So, which is also called in the Kabbalion of the Hermetic text, it's called polarity. Polarity is the same thing as duality. Everything has a balance and a counterbalance, and most things work in unison together, to create a collective whole, So Va is us, which is mankind, the creation, to be the light and the reflection. And back to Hey, which is also a divine feminine, like the first Hey, which deals with Ana. Ana is the polarity and duality to Abba. Abba is father, Ana is mother. So mother wisdom, Ana chokma, Ana chokma, mother wisdom is the last Hey, because that is what guides us, wisdom. You acquire wisdom through passed down knowledge. The Most High works through people, places, and things. So you will acquire this wisdom in many different ways, And, wisdom comes from experience, experiments. You experiment with things, you go through trial and error until you figure out the right from the wrong, So you get the wisdom, the knowledge to know, left from right, good from evil, what works and what doesn't work, So it guides you through and corrects you, That's Yah, He, Va, He, where you get the tetragrammaton, A lot of people say it's better to say the syllables in the four than, actually say the name, because a lot of people say Yahweh, some people say Yahweh, some people say Yahuwah, but it all boils down to those four syllables, which have four different meanings, but they work together as a collective whole to create the tetragrammaton, As above, so below. the macro prosophis above and the micro prosophis below, because we are the microorganisms and the host of the Elohim. Alright, with that out the way, the introduction. Now, today, I want to connect some precepts and I want to paint a picture for you guys about the current time that we're in, you know, chains of events that are happening, why they're happening, and how they correlate through multiple different books. So right here we have the Apocalypse of Abraham. This is one book I'm going to be reading out of. I'm going to be jumping back and forth so I can paint a picture. The next book is the Apocrypha, which is Greek for hidden, you know. This book is kind of old. I had this for many years, so it's kind of ripped up, but it's still fully functional, you know. So another book, I don't know if a lot of you guys heard of it, but it's called The Apocalypse of Elijah. Now look at this. Just like you have Apocalypse of Abraham, there's also Apocalypse of Elijah, which on one side is written in Greek and the other side is written in English, you know. But I'm going to connect some dots for you, and then last but not least, the Holy Bible, you know. Alright, we're going to jump right into it. So right now I'm going to go into the Apocalypse of Abraham. Somebody asked me who was the author of this book. It's no real author, you know, it's just a translator. The Apocalypse of Abraham, translated by George H. Box. So this is page 18. You know, this is the page right before it gets to the 10 plagues. We're going to go into the 10 plagues again, which I've did many videos on before, but I'm going to paint a picture to them, you know. Alright, we're going to start here on page 18. Now, I'm going to read something, you know, just follow me. And when I jump to the next book, watch how it all comes together. Alright. But in the 12th year of my final age, you know how it talks about in Matthew 24, how will you know the signs of thy coming and the end of the age? You know, key word, the end of the age, you know. The end of the age means the end of a cycle, you know. One system gone, new system beginning, you know, death and rebirth, you know. Sometimes it's physical, sometimes it's spiritual, you know, and sometimes it's planetary reset, you know. Either way, it all goes hand in hand, but I'm showing you how it correlates. But in the 12th year of my final age, keywords, final age, I will set up this man from thy generation, whom thou sawest issue from my people. This one all will follow, and such as are called by me will join. Even before the age of the righteous beginneth to grow, my judgment shall come upon the lawless heathen through the people of thy seed. Now, listen to that. He said that before the age of the righteousness, before the rebirth, the reset, you know, where it will be peace upon the earth, like it talks about in the book of Revelation, 1,000-year millennium reign, you know, for all those elect ones that will have the Christ consciousness that will return, you know, that will work those greater wonders, work the same wonders and even greater wonders than him, because we are the children of the Most High. That's what the Messiah was trying to teach all along. Listen to key words here. It says, from thy generation who thou sawest from my people, this one all will follow, such as are called by me will join, basically come together. Even before the age of righteousness. So he's talking about a new age, a new period in time, a new cycle in time. Before the age of the righteousness beginneth to grow, my judgment shall come upon the lawless heathen. Listen to this. Shall come upon the lawless heathen through the people of thy seed. So the judgment is going to come through the people of thy seed, you know. Now listen to this. Who have been separated for me. So he's talking about those separate, set apart people that he put aside. Those people that were always in captivity, that was given laws, statutes, and commandments. Be a special people unto itself, because they would have, the genetic makeup, to have the Christ consciousness, or Shemesh. The children of the sun, of light. It's all metaphors and actual facts at the same time. It says, thou come upon the lawless heathen through the people of thy seed. So that's the key word. Through the people of thy seed, who have been separated for me. In those days I will bring upon all creatures of the earth 10 plagues, through misfortune and disease, and sighing of the grief of their souls. Sighing of the grief of their souls. Thus much will I bring upon the generations of men that be upon it, on account of the provocation of the corruption of its creatures, whereby they provoke me. And then shall righteous men of thy seed be left in the number which is kept sacred by me, hastening in the glory of my name to the place prepared beforehand for them, which thou sawest devastated in the picture. And they shall live and be established through sacrifices and gifts of righteousness and truth in the age of the righteous, and shall rejoice in me continually, and they shall destroy those who have destroyed them. Listen to that. They shall destroy them who have destroyed them. It's funny how Mother Nature works, and how the nature of things goes. When you're dealing with galactic karma, through cause and effect. The cause and effect. So you get what you dish. But we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going, because I can keep going into that. That's why I got to stay on topic, because I can go off topic and go into other things. But I got to paint this picture. He said, and shall rejoice in me continually, and they shall destroy those who have destroyed them, and shall insult those who have insulted them, and of those who defamed them, basically took their name, took their heritage, made them less than nothing. That what means defame. Took them from their rightful place and made them all kind of bywords, proverbs, and astonishment amongst nations, like it says in the book of Deuteronomy. And those who defamed them shall spit in the face scorn by me, while they, the righteous, shall behold me full of joy, rejoicing with my people, and receiving those who return to me in repentance. So receiving those who return to me in repentance. So this is talking about those who are cleavers, So now you see what that says right there. I'm going to point out two things. He talks about the 10 plagues. He says, my judgment shall come upon the lawless heathen through the people of thy seed, who have been separated for me. In those days I will bring upon all creatures 10 plagues, misfortune, disease, sighing, and grief of their souls. And it tells you about, how they will destroy those who destroyed them, insulted them, defamed them, and shall spit in the face of scorn by me. While they, the righteous, shall behold me full of joy, rejoicing with my people. So you're talking about these other righteous people. That's what the part you got to get. These other righteous people, those who return to me in repentance. Now you see what that says right there. Now we're going to jump into the Apocrypha, which means hidden. We're going to read chapter 5 of the Wisdom of Solomon. It says, then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such have afflicted him, and made no accounts of his labors. When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation. You know why it's going to be strange? Because it's going to be beyond all that they have looked for, which is about to say in these next couple lines. But it's going to be strange to them because the way of truth, the way of religion, and these customs, they had it all wrong and backwards. The strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they looked for. And they repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit shall say within themselves, this was he who we had sometimes in derision, and a proverb of reproach. We fools accounted his life madness, and his end to be without honor. How is he numbered amongst the children of God, and his lot is amongst the saints? Therefore have we erred from the way of truth, and the light of righteousness have not shined upon us, and the sun of righteousness rose not upon us. We wearied ourselves in the way of wickedness and destruction. Yea, we have gone through deserts where they lay no way. But as for the way of the Lord, we have not known it. We have pride. What hath pride profited us? Or what good hath riches with our vaunting brought us? All those things are passed away like a shadow, and as a post that hasted by, and as a ship that passeth over the waves of water, which when it is gone by, the trace thereof cannot be found, and neither the pathway of the Nile in the waves. Or as when a bird hath flown through the air, there is no token of her way to be found, but the light air being beaten with stroke of her wings, and parted with the violent noises and motions of them, is passed through, and therein afterwards no sign where she went is to be found. Or like as when an arrow is shot at a mark, and it parteth the air, which immediately come together again, so that a man cannot know where it went through. It's going to be like a thief in the night. They ain't even going to see this coming. Even so, when in like manner, as soon as we were born, began to draw to our end, and have no sign of virtue to show, but were consumed in our own wickedness. For the hope of the ungodly is like dust that is blown away with the wind, like a thin froth that is driven away with the storm, like as the smoke which is dispersed here and there with a tempest, and passeth away as the remembrance of a guest that tarrieth but a day. But the righteous live forevermore. Their reward also is with the Lord, and the care of them is with the Most High. Therefore shall they receive a glamorous kingdom. This is Malkuth on the Hebrew Sephirots. When this is when the kingdom comes, the will be done on earth as it is in heaven through you. So the kingdom and a beautiful crown. Remember I told you that crown, Kether? The crown from the Lord's hands, for with his right hand shall he cover them, and with his arm shall he protect them. He shall take to him his jealousy for complete armor, and make the creature his weapon for the revenge of his enemies. Now listen to that again. What did it just say in here? in Apocalypse of Abraham. Now look what it says. It says, before the age of righteousness beginneth to grow, thy seed whose have been separated for me. In those days I will bring upon all creatures of the earth 10 plagues, through misfortune and disease and sighing. It says, he said, I will bring upon the generations of men, but on account of the provocation. And he says, He said, my judgment shall come upon the lawless heathen through the people of thy seed who have been separated from me. And also on this other page, what does it say? It says, they shall destroy those who have destroyed them, and shall insult those who have insulted them. And those who defame them, they shall spit in the face, scorned by me. Now right here, what is it saying right here? As we just got down here to the bottom. It says, but the righteous live forevermore, their reward also is in the Lord, and care of them with the Most High. Therefore they shall receive a glamorous kingdom and a beautiful crown from the Lord's hand. For with his right hand shall he cover them, and with his arm shall he protect them. He shall take to him his jealousy for complete armor, and make the creature his weapon for the revenge of his enemies. He shall put on righteousness as a breastplate, and true judgment instead of his helmet. He shall take holiness for an invisible shield. His severe wrath shall he sharpen for a sword, and the world shall fight with him against the unwise. Then shall the right aim in thunderbolts. Now listen to that. The right aim in thunderbolts. We're going to talk about that when we get to the 10 plagues. What it's talking about. It says, go abroad, and from the clouds, as from a well-drawn bow, shall they fly to their mark. Precision, accuracy. And hailstones. You see how it's saying right here in the Apocalypse? I mean the Apocrypha. It's talking about, you see it talk about the right it talks about the right aim and thunderbolt, and he says, well drawn bow shall they fly to their mark, and hailstones full of wrath shall be cast as out of a stone bow in the water of the sea shall rage against them, and the flood shall cruelly drown them. Yea, a mighty wind shall stand up against them, and like a storm shall blow them away. Thus iniquity shall lay waste the whole earth, and ill dealing shall overthrow the thrones of the mighty. So he's talking about Mother Nature, the elements, the waves, the storms, thunderbolts. He's talking about hailstones. Now we're going to get right over here to the 10 plagues. It says the punishment of the heathen and the ingathering of Israel, the children of light. It says, but he was still speaking. I found myself upon the earth, and I said, O eternal God, mighty one, I am no longer in the glory in which I was while on high. What my soul longed to understand, in my heart I don't understand. And he said to me, what is desired in thine heart? I will tell thee, because thou hasten. Because he's talking to Abraham. Abraham was taken up into heaven. Remember when we talked about in the Bible, he fasted for 40 days, 40 nights, and the angel took him up. This is where this book goes into details, what he saw when he went up there. And he was basically took to like a picture, a crystal ball that can see in past times and in future times, and what would happen in time, space, and matter, you know, through basically like pictures and clips, you know, and basically see this stuff beforehand, you know, as he fasted, and you know, he was faint, you know, he basically diluted himself from impurities. That's what basically fasting is. And you know, he was able to go up, you know, have these visions. So now Abraham is like, dang, this is going to basically happen to all my people, my descendants. He's like, well, what's the outcome of this? This is basically saying, I don't understand. So he said to me, what is desired in thy heart? I will tell thee, because thou hast sought to see the 10 plagues which I had prepared for the heathen, and had prepared beforehand as the passing over of the 12th hour of the earth. Hear what I deluge to thee, so shall it come to pass. The first is pain and great distress, you know. So the great distress, basically sickness, pain, anguish, all these things. The second will be conflagration and fires of many cities, as you're seeing all around the world. Wildfires, bridges burning down, highways burning down. Well, let me tell you, all of these things, some of these things, Maui and Hawaii, some of these things are of the Most High. Some of these things are creatures being used as a weapon, and a lot of these things, just like you've seen in Philly, the pathway when it burnt down. You see, the key thing was the reroute traffic in the Pacific time. So what's happening in Los Angeles right now, the fires that's on the freeway, it's the reroute traffic again. At the whole same time that's occurring, you got the border crisis over there. And then you have your rumors of wars and nations rising against nations all in the Middle East. But I'm going to tell you how this is going to play out. The second one is fire and conflagrations of many cities. The third is destruction and pestilence of animals. This is when you get, bad meat, a lot of animals dying, pestilence, basically infestations. The fourth is hunger of the whole world and of its people, which we're about to read in Matthew 24. How the signs of thy second coming. You will hear wars, rumors of wars, nations rising against nations, famines, earthquakes, pestilence. But just like we just read in the Apocrypha, let's go into those thunderbolts and hailstorms. What it's talking about. It says the third is the destruction of pestilence and animals. The fourth, hunger of the whole world and of its people. The fifth, destruction amongst its rulers, destructions by earthquakes and by the sword. So remember, Matthew 24 talks about earthquakes as well. And remember, it says nations rising against nations. But it's basically telling you now they're going to destroy each other and eliminate each other by the sword, because that's part of the 10 plagues. So there's not just rumors of wars, it's going to actually be the wars. This is the process of elimination. Here in the 23, which equals 7, 20, 23, going into the 24, just like Matthew 24, just like it's 24 elders. And if you turn 24 around, you get 42. Get 42 Anabakoash prayer of the Most High. 2, 4, 4, 2. A lot of people don't know what this numerology is, but if you've been following me long enough, you get my drift. I can break that down too. That's a whole nother story. It says the fifth, destruction amongst its rulers, destructions by earthquake and the sword. Those are the nations rising against nations. The sixth is multiplication of hail and snow. So what did we just read in the Apocrypha? What was it saying? It says, then shall the right aim and thunderbolts go abroad, and from the clouds, as from a well-drawn bow, shall they fly to their mark. And hailstones full of wrath shall be cast as out of a stone bow. You see? Now back to the 10 plagues, saying the same thing. Just like it say the same thing that correlate with these 10 plagues in Matthew 24. Now let's keep going. It says, what is that? This is the sixth plague. It says multiplication of hail and snow. So this basically dealing with the pole shift. When the poles shift, you're gonna start getting crazy weather, because the sun is heating up in the influx when it's producing that coronal mass ejection and sending that plasma to the earth, that ether. What it does is it has an effect on all natural living organisms. As a change in behavior. That's why in this reset time there's going to be a change in the behavior and the program of the temple, the host, and the vessel. Everything is being set up for a reason. It says the seventh, the wild beasts will be their graves. So this is when animals are going to start killing them, or you're going to start seeing stuff come out the woodworks that you thought was extinct, or it didn't exist, or stuff that's in the inner earth that It's top secret. You ain't supposed to know about. But this is when wild beasts shall be their graves. The 8th, hunger and pestilence will alternate with their destruction. So it means it will alternate with their destruction. So it's basically one thing don't hit you, the next thing will. So in different regions, it's going to be different, plagues coming. So these people might be getting hit with this plague over here. These ones might be drowning over here, getting hit with terrible storms. But this is going to be all in the midst of the nations rising against nation, and it's already going to be conflict going on. So this is going to mess a lot of things up. Like, there's going to be blackouts and other things. A lot of people are going to be thinking it's weapons of war that's doing this, but this is Mother Nature kicking in at the same time. I'm going to tell you a secret. Nature will not allow them to set off these nuclear weapons. So once it gets to that point, this is when the divine intervention starts to come in. You're going to start to see the supernatural things, because those nuclear weapons don't just affect our realm, they affect the other realms around us. This is why great resets happen, and whole populations get wiped out, because they always get to this exact point where we at right now. This isn't the first time this happened, So it says the 8th, hunger and pestilence will alternate with their destruction. The 9th, punishment by the sword and flight and distress. The 10th, thunder voices and destructive earthquakes. Now remember what it said right here. It says, then shall the right aiming thunderbolts go abroad, and from the clouds, as from a well-drawn bow, shall they fly to their mark, and hailstones full of wrath shall be cast as out of a stone bow, and the water of the sea shall rage against them, and the floods. So it's telling you all the elements is working together all at the same time for the specific reason. So now remember what it just said right here. The 9th one, it says punishment by the sword and flight and distress. Now we're going to jump into Matthew 24, and it's going to tell you about flight and distress, and don't be traveling on the Sabbath day. Watch this. See how it said that right there in the Apocalypse of Abraham? It said the same thing right there in the Apocrypha. Now let's see the same thing right here in the Holy Bible. Jesus speaks about the future. As Jesus was leaving the temple grounds, and his disciples pointed out to him the various temple buildings, but he responded, do you see all these buildings? I tell you the truth, they will be completely demolished. Not one stone will be left on top of another. Verse 3. Later, Jesus said on the Mount of Olives, his disciples came to him privately and said, tell us, when will all this happen? What sign will signal your return and the end of the world? See, in other translations, it says the end of the age, just like it talks about in the Apocalypse of Abraham. It talks about the end of the age. So the end of a world is the end of an age. The world never dies. It just resets and reprograms, and sweeps the wicked off the land, once they reach their peak of ripenness, they become ripe for the destruction, because if they go on any further, just like it talks about, if the time wasn't cut short for the elect's sake, many will be deceived. Because if they go on any further past a specific time, it's done. It's a done deal. So it has to happen at a specific time. So certain things have to alternate together and work against everything, all at the same time. It says, later Jesus sat on the Mount of Olives. His disciples came to him. Disciples means the disciplined ones, the disciplined followers, They discipline themselves. That's why they're able to perform things like what Jesus did, Tell us, having that faith, that is the emotions when the two become one. Faith is an emotional field, emotions and thoughts. You have to bring them together to control the elements. Later, Jesus sat on the Mount of Olives with his disciples, his discipline, and came to him privately and said, tell us, when will all these things happen? What will signal your return at the end of the world, which means the end of the age? Jesus told them, Don't let anyone mislead you, for many will come in my name claiming I am the Messiah. They will deceive many, and you will hear of wars, threats of wars, like you've been hearing for the last couple years in the 7-year cycle. But don't panic. Yes, these things must take place, but the end won't follow immediately. Nations will go to war against nations, and kingdoms against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in many parts of the world. But all this is only the first of the birth pains, This is just the beginning, As you've seen, these are just the beginning of the birth pains. The birth pains. It's going down. Just like it said in them 10 plagues. All the same things it's talking about in Matthew 24 is talking about in there. And it says, but all this is only the first of the birth pains, with more to come. Then you will be arrested, persecuted, and killed. You will be hated all over the world because you are my followers. And many will turn away from me and betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and will deceive many people. Sin will be rapidly everywhere, and the love of many will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. And the good news about the kingdom will be preached throughout the whole world, so that all nations will hear it. Then the end will come. The day is coming when you will see what Daniel the prophet spoke about, the sacrilegious object that causes desecration standing in the holy place. Reader, pay attention. Then those in Judea must flee to the hills. A person out of the deck of a roof must not go down into the house to pack. A person out in the field must not return even to get a coat. How terrible it will be to be pregnant women. For those and for nursing mothers in those days, and pray that your flight will not be in the winter and on the Sabbath day. So if you notice all of these events, when they're saying that, the attack happened over there in the Middle East, you notice all these things are happening on the Sabbath day, So may that your flight not be in the winter and on the Sabbath day. That is a key thing, So a lot of the times when you see destruction happening on the earth, it's always going to happen on a Saturday. I told you about how the elements work and how certain days correlate in the 6th and 7th book of Moses. Like it talked about anybody born on the Sabbath day is also going to die on the Sabbath day. If you're born on Pacific days of the week, you got to know these things. It's very key. It'll all start to make sense to you when you start to connect the dots. So you see right here, it says the 9th plague. It says the 9th punishment by the sword and flight and distress. People gonna be trying to get away. Flight and distress. And like it says right here in Matthew 24, and pray that your flight will not be in the winter or on the Sabbath. For there will be greater anguish than at any time since the world began, and it will never be so great again. In fact, unless that time of calamity is shortened, not a single person will survive, but it will be shortened for the sake of God's chosen ones. In this translation, and other translations says the elect. So remember what I was just telling you, if these things don't happen and alternate within this time and these people reach their peak, it's over. So this is when divine intervention starts to happen. You're going to see flights in distress. You're going to see crazy storms, because they're going to be coming from the geomagnetic elements from above, the inflow. And it connects with the mother down below, it integrates, and then she rises, you see how they working hand in hand, Abba above and Anna below. So pay attention to that. He says, then if anyone tells you, look, here is the Messiah, or there he is, don't believe it, for false messiahs and false prophets will rise up and perform great signs and wonders, so as to deceive, if possible, even God's chosen ones. See, I have warned you about this ahead of time. And we're going to stop right there, because now we're going to jump into the apocalypse of Elijah and see what it says about these false prophets and this Antichrist character right here. This is what it says. It says text and translation 43. Alright, we're going to start off here. It says, in the 4th year of the king, there will appear one who says, I am the Christ, but he is not. Do not believe him. But when the Christ comes, he will come in the manner of a bevy of doves, with his crown of doves encircling him. And he walks on the vaults of heaven, with the sign of the cross preceding him. The sign of the cross is an X. Now listen to this. Watch this. While the whole world sees him like the sun, the eclipse, 2017, coming one way from the east, and another one in 2024 coming from the west. What does that create? An X, cross. Now watch this. It says, while the whole world sees him like the sun, which shines from the east and the west. This is the way in which the Christ comes. This is the Christ. This is how it comes. Now, these are the signs you got to look for, like what Matthew 24 is talking about. How will you know the sign? See, certain parts is left out, but watch how they correlate. Now, let's read that again. But when the Christ comes, he comes in the manner of a bevy of doves, with his crown of doves encircling him. And he walks on the vaults of heaven, with the sign of the cross preceding him, while the whole world sees him like the sun, which shines from the east into the west. This is the way in which the Christ comes, with all his angels surrounding him. The lawless one, however, this is what Matthew 24 is talking about. He says, will proceed to take his stand in the holy place. He will say to the sun, fall, and it falls. Be dark, and it complies. Shine, and it does. He will accompany them through the sky and say, walk upon the sea and upon the rivers, as though they were on dry land. He will make the lame walk. He will make the deaf hear. He will make the dumb speak. He will make the blind see. Lepers he will heal. The sick he will cure. The demon-possessed he will exorcise. He will multiply his signs and wonders in everyone's presence. He will do the things which the Christ did, with the sole exception of raising the dead. So he won't be able to raise the dead. This is how you will know. This you will know that he is the lawless one. He has no power to give souls. Now, his signs I will tell you in order that you may recognize him. He is a little pellet tall, thin-legged, with a tuft of gray hair on his forehead, like one who is bald. His eyelids extend to his ears. He has leprosy on his hands. So, what color skin he has, But he's also a shapeshifter. Now watch this. He said, he will change himself before you. At one time he will be an old man. At another he will be a young man. He will be a young child. He will change himself with every sign, but the aspect of his head will not be able to change. By this you will know that he is the lawless one. The young woman whose name is Tabitha will hear that the shameless one has made his appearance to the holy place. She will dress in her linen clothes and hurry to Judea to reprove him, and for as far as Jerusalem, and say to him, O you shameless one, O you lawless one, O you enemy of all the saints. Then the shameless one will become angry with the young woman. He will pursue her to the region of the setting of the sun. Now, remember what Revelation 12 said. The woman who went through the wilderness and the beast pursued her, but the earth opened up to help her, swallowed the beast up. Now watch this, watch this, watch this. Because I'm about to jump into Revelation after this and connect all of that too. He will suck her blood in the evening and toss her onto the temple, and she will become salvation for the people. So he drawn her blood. Remember, the nation of Israel is considered as a her. As dawn, she will rise up alive. At dawn, she will rise up alive and rebuke him, saying, what does it say about the two witnesses in Revelation? Well, let's go there right now too, while we got this hook, because I can read them both back to back. See, I already read this stuff long ago, but different, concepts is coming to me of how to put it together better, I'm trying to learn how to use this laptop so I can pull stuff up on the screen and start making different videos. Revelation 12 is talking about the woman and the dragon. Now look what it's saying over here in the apocalypse of Elijah. It says, as dawn, she will rise up alive and rebuke him, saying, you shameless one, you have no power over my soul, nor over my body, because I live in the Lord always, and even my blood which you spilled on the temple, because salvation is for the people. Now, you see right here what it says in Revelation 12, and it says, the woman fled into the wilderness where God had prepared a place to care for her for 1,260 days. Then there was war in heaven, and Michael and his angels fought against the dragon and his angels, and the dragon lost the battle, and he and his angels were forced out of heaven. Alright, we see what it said right there. Now, right here, this is what we're going to get into. Then when Elijah and Enoch here, the shameless one appeared. Now, look at this. Where's Elijah and Enoch at over here in Revelation? The two witnesses. See, this Bible is labeled so I can find stuff fast. The two witnesses. See, Revelation 12 right here, it says, then I was given a measuring stick, and I was told, go and measure the temple of God and the altar, and count the number of the worshippers. But do not measure the outer courtyard, for it has been turned over to the nations. They will trample the holy city for 42 months. Remember what I told you about 24 and 42? See, these numbers always come consistent. Why would it just say 42 months? Now watch. Why is it 42 Anabakowash prayer? Why is it 24 elders? Why is it 24 hours in the day? Why do these numbers correlate? Now right here it says they will trample the holy city for 42 months, and I will give power to my two witnesses, and they will be clothed in burlap and with prophecy during those 1,260 days. The two prophets are the two olive trees and the two lampsticks that stand before the Lord of all the earth. If anyone tries to harm them, fire flashes from their mouths and consumes their enemies. This is how anyone who tries to harm them must die. They have power to shut the sky, that no rain will fall, controlling the elements, for as long as they prophesy, and they have the power to turn the rivers and oceans into blood, and to strike the earth with every kind of plague as often as they wish. So this is when he's going to use the creature, the vengeance, because guess what? Those that get that Christ consciousness and those certain abilities, they already doing it, by us all thinking in accord as a collective consciousness. We're making the elements move right now because we awoken, so we triggered certain events that already happened. But let me keep going. It says, when they complete their testimony, the beast that comes up out of the bottomless pit will declare war against them, just like he just did to the woman. And here, which is, her name is Tabitha, see, it said, the shameless one who will become angry with the young woman, he will pursue her to the region of the setting of the sun. Right here it talks about, in Revelation 12, it talks about the beast pursuing the woman in the wilderness. And right here it says, when they complete their testimony, the beast that comes up out of the bottomless pit will declare war against them, and he will conquer them and kill them, and their bodies will lie in the main street of Jerusalem. The city is figuratively called Sodom in Egypt. So he's talking about Jerusalem. Remember when they talked about Virginia and certain transports that was going on? That there was a city over there named Jerusalem, just like in Idaho, in Utah. All these same biblical places that you see in the Bible, they have them right here in America. But it's telling you spiritual Sodom in Egypt. So that means, you know what Sodom is, you know what rights they promote over here in Mystery Babylon in Egypt, meaning bondage. They use mental bondage and physical bondage. It says figuratively. It's talking about figurative language. Remember, I told you the Bible is written in metaphors, allegories, and figurative language. So he said it's figuratively called Sodom in Egypt, the city where the Lord was crucified. And for 3.5 days, this is figuratively speaking, so it's talking about a period of time. For 3.5 days, the people, tribes, and languages and nations will stare at their bodies. No one will be allowed to bury them. All the people who belong to this world will gloat over them and give presents to each other to celebrate the death of the two prophets who had tormented them. But after 3.5 days, God breathed life into them, just like the valley of the dry bones, and they stood up. Terror struck all those who were staring at them. Then a loud voice, you can't hold them down forever. That spirit just keeps reviving. But 3.5 days, God breathed life into them, and they stood up. Terror struck all those who were staring at them. Then a loud voice from heaven called the two prophets, come up here. And they rose to heaven in a cloud as their enemies watched. And at the same time there was a terrible earthquake that destroyed 1/10 of the city. 7,000 people died in that earthquake. And everyone else was terrified and gave glory to God of heaven. The second terror is past, but look, the third terror is coming quickly. Now right here. Now what does it say over here in the apocalypse of Elijah? Now watch this. It says, then when Elijah and Enoch hear that the shameless one has appeared in the holy place. And look, I even wrote Revelation 11 by that. Because when I read this, I start putting two and two together, It says, then when Elijah, remember it talks about two prophets over there and what is that? Yeah, Revelation 11. Then, when Elijah and Enoch hear that the shameless one has appeared in the holy places, they will come down and wage war against him, saying, are you not ashamed, seeing that you are estranged constantly? You became an enemy of heavenly beings. Now you have acted against those on earth as well. You became an enemy of angels and powers. You are an enemy for all time. You fell from heaven like the morning stars. You have changed your substance, meaning your nature, has been darkened. Are you not now ashamed? You who hurl yourself against God, you are the devil. The shameless one will hear, become angry, wage war, what is just said over there in Revelation 12, against them. Now, and look, it's talking about this too. I'm glad it said this. Against them in the marketplace of the great city. What did it just say in Revelation 11? Saying the same thing over here in Apocalypse of Elijah. Now, you think these books is just taken out for a reason? They have no validity? When you connect them all together and it paints a bigger picture of the same story? Now, let's get to it. Against them in the marketplace of the great city, he will spend 7 days fighting with them and kill them for 3.5 days, just like it just said in the book of Revelation. They will lie dead in the marketplace in full view of all the people, but on the 4th day they will arise again and rebuke them, just like the woman did, saying to him, "Oh, you shameless one, are you not ashamed? You who deceive God's people, for whom you have not suffered, do you not know that we live in the Lord, in order that we may rebuke you whenever you say, I have overpowered them? We will lay aside the flesh of this body and kill you, without your being able to utter a sound at that time, because we live in the Lord always, whereas you are a perpetual enemy. The shameless one will listen in anger and wage war against them. The whole city will surround them." Now let's keep going. Let's see what it got to say in here. "That time they will raise cries of joy towards heaven, shining forth as the whole world watches them. The lawless one will not prevail against them. He will become angry with the land and try to sin against the people. He will command that their eyes be burnt out with an iron rod. He will tear off their nails one by one. He will command that vinegar and lye be poured into their nostrils." Don't it sound familiar? What do the governments do? CIA do when they trying to torture you or trying to get information out of you? Where do you think they got it from? But what is this book? The Apocalypse of Elijah, what is it saying? What do you see on all those movies when they trying to extract information or they trying to get somebody out the way? You know, it says he will command that their eyes be burnt out with an iron rod. He will tear off their nails. So it's telling you this is somebody with that's going to be portrayed as this character, somebody that's in a high place or government official. This is how you know, because now look at the tactics that they're using. He will command that their eyes be burnt out with an iron rod. He will tear off their nails one by one. He will command that vinegar and lye be poured into their nostril. You know how in the movies they put the towel around them and they dump the gasoline can on them? Same concept. And those who are unable to endure that king's torture. See, I was talking about that king. I might as well say that president's torture. Take their gold and flee by the ferries. So basically, meaning now it's flight in distress, you know, or these people that gave you up, you know, try to give up information out you, you know, for payment, and they think they about to be out flight in distress, you know. Watch this. Take their gold and flee by the ferry, saying, ferry us across to the desert. They will pass away like one asleep, as the Lord takes to himself their spirits and their souls. That's why I told y'all before, spirits and souls is two different things, you know. Their flesh will be like ham. No wild animal will eat them until the final day of the great judgment. They will rise and receive a place of rest, but they will not be part of the kingdom of the Christ like those who endure. Remember what it said in the other book? Those who endure to the end in Matthew 24. Talking about all the same things. Just like it's talking about this one that's going to rise up. But as for those who endure, says the Lord, I will direct them to sit on my right. They will be victorious. Netzach, one of the Sephiroths, over the lawless one. They will see the destruction of heaven and earth. They will receive the thrones of glory and the crowns. 60 righteous ones prepared for that moment will hear at that time. They will don the armor of God. They will hasten to Jerusalem in their battle with the shameless one, saying, every feat which the prophets performed, you have performed, but you were in truth unable to raise a dead person because you lacked the power. But by this did we recognize you as the lawless one. The shameless one will hear, become angry, and command that the righteous be bound, be placed on altars, and be burnt. And at that time they will win the affection of many. They will leave him saying, this one is not the Christ, for the Christ does not kill righteous people, nor does he pursue them. He will not try to convince them by signs and wonders at that time. The Christ will have compassion on those who are his. He will send his angels from heaven, 64,000 in number, each having 6 wings. Their voices will move heaven and earth. Now this is when you get into Revelation and it do the cracking of the 7 seals. You know how you got the 7 churches, you have the 7 seals, you have the 7 vials of indignation, you know. But now it's telling you the number of angels that's coming, you know, on your behalf, because they're actually fighting a spiritual war in the elements, and they're making things alternate against them. So these people, they're gonna be really confused, you know. Certain people are gonna get it, but this is how deep it goes. Their voices will move heaven and earth when they praise and give glory, those upon whose forehead is written the name of the Christ. That's how they get the Christ consciousness. Whose right hand is the seal, both small and great. They will be taken on their wings and removed from the wrath. Then Gabriel and Uriel will be a column of light and go before them until they bring them to the Holy Land, and they will permit them to eat from the tree of life and wear white garments, while the angels keep watch over them. They will neither hunger nor thirst, nor will the lawless one have power over them. You know why? Because now they're getting that manna, that spiritual food. Key thing, I even wrote it in there on my notes. Manna. That's what came to my head once it said that. And the lawless one have power, nor will the lawless one have power over them. And at that time the whole earth will tremble. The sun will be darkened. Peace will be removed from upon the earth from under heaven. So what it's telling you, there's going to be a divine intervention, and there's going to be a removal, you know. There's going to be certain entities fighting on the front line for you against these other people, you know. Because, look, they got all the weapons, they got all this other stuff, but guess what? They don't got that eternal power with them. So now it's forces of nature fighting for you and taking them out. Every time they think they're going to get one ahead or entrap you, another roadblock is going to come up for them. It says the trees will be uprooted and toppled. Wild animals and domestic animals will die. Remember what it said in the 10 plagues of the apocalypse of Abraham? What does it say? It says, the 4th one. No. The 3rd, destruction and pestilence of animals. And it's saying the same thing right here in the apocalypse of Elijah. It says the trees will be uprooted and toppled. Wild animals and domestic animals will die in confusion. Birds will fall on the ground dead. Same thing it's talking about over there. Let's keep going. And the water of the sea will evaporate. So this is when you see what's going on in the Euphrates River and in these rivers, and all this other stuff is drying up. These are signs too, you know. The sinners will cry out on the earth, saying, "What have you done to us, lawless one?" by saying, "I am the Christ," when you are the lawless one, and you have no power to save yourself, much less to save us. You perform vain marvels before us until you had made us strangers to the Christ who created each one of us. Woe to us, because we listen to you. Woe means destruction. Woe to us, because we listen to you. You know, they worship the creature more than the creator. Say that in Revelation 2. Woe to us, because we listen to you. See, we are about to die in an evil manner and an affliction, where now is the footprints of a righteous person, that we should worship you? Or where is our teacher, that we might appeal to him? Now we will be destroyed by wrath, just like I said in Apocrypha, because we disobeyed God. We went to the depths of the sea, but found no water. We dug in the riverbed 16 cubits, but failed to find water. Then the shameless one will weep that time, saying, "Woe to me as well, because my time has passed." Salah. He said, "I said, my time shall not pass away. My years have become months. My days have passed like the dust." Said, "My time shall not pass away." This is something that I wasn't intending to read, but now that I'm over here, I got this all highlighted. Oh, let's read it. "My time shall not pass away. My years have become months. My days have passed like dust that pass by. Indeed, now I shall perish with you. Now, then hasten to the deserts. Seize the bridelands and kill them. Fetch the saints, for on their account does the earth give produce." On the saints' account. "For on their account does the sun shine upon the earth. For on their account does the dew settle on the ground." See? We are the fifth element. Everything works around us, you know? Because all the elements, everything else is within us. He says, "Shines upon the earth. For on their account does the dew settle on the ground." The sinners will weep, saying, "You have made us enemies of God. If you have the power to rise and pursue them, then he will spread his fiery wings and fly away in pursuit of the saints. He will again wage war on them. The angels will here come down and wage war against him, a war of many swords. At that time the Lord will hear and command in great anger that heaven and earth spew forth fire, and the fire will reach out over the earth 72 cubits. 72. Remember the 72 Hashems of the Most High that I was trying to break down to y'all before? Because each one of these names, see, like what I did in the Greater and Lesser Keys of Solomon, I told you these different names of power. So once these certain things, like when El Shaddai is ignited, with El Elyon, you know, Adonai, once you say these things, it's triggering different attributes of elements to move. So reach out to each of 72 cubits, it will consume the sinners and the devils. See? The sinners and the devil. So it's not just one devil. The devil is a collective consciousness, just like Christ is a collective consciousness. You get where it's going? And the devils, like straw. A just judgment will take place at that time. The mountains of the earth will make their voices heard. And at that time, the roads, sea, roads, and steeds will say to each other. Rose and that kind of look like Rothschild, but it says a different name. Rosenstiel will say to each other, "Did you hear today the sound of a man who makes his way to the judgment of the Son of God. The sins of each will oppose him in the place where they will commit, whether by day or by night. And the just and the blank will see the sinners and their punishment, as well as those who persecuted them and those who delivered them to death. Then the sinners will see abode of the righteous in the manner in which grace will ensue. And at that time, that which the righteous will often request will be given to them. At the time, the Lord will judge heaven and earth. He will judge those who have transgressed in heaven and those who have done so on earth. He will judge the shepherds of the people. He will ask them concerning the flock, and they will hand them over to him without deadly gallows. After that, Elijah and Enoch descend. They lay aside the flesh of the world and put on the flesh of the Spirit. They pursue the lawless one and kill him, unalive him, without him being able to utter a sound. At that time he will melt before them like ice which melts through fire. He will perish like a dragon which is without breath. He will be told, your time is up. Now you will perish with those who believed in you. They will be thrown into the deep pit, and it will be shut over them. And at that time, the Christ comes from heaven, the King, together with all the saints. He burns the earth and spends 1,000 years on it, because the sinners held sway over it. He will create a new heaven and a new earth. No devil or death. See, it says, see, Rosensteel, whatever that word means, exists in them. So whatever this Rosenstiel. Now I'm gonna look it up when I get done this, because it says no devil or death. See, Rosenstein, death exists in them. With the saints he will rule, descending and ascending. So that means he be coming up and he coming down. So you see how the Christ consciousness is about to play out? They will be with the angels always. They will be with Christ 1,000 years. Salah. I hope I painted a good enough picture for you guys and filled in a lot of blanks. Stuff that you probably already heard before, but more in depth, with multiple books. You see, we just used 4 books to explain something. We used the Apocalypse of Abraham, Apocalypse of Elijah, the Holy Bible, and the Apocrypha, and make it all say the same thing and fill in the blanks